Today we're going to talk about sourcing from online auctions in larger boxes in larger quantity, because sourcing from online auctions who are willing to ship into your residence or your business address is another great viable way to source for your reselling business. Good morning, this is Brian. We're going to take a look at sourcing from online auctions when the auction house is willing to ship the items. Now, this is a great way to augment your sourcing because you can do it on your schedule, online, in the comfort of your home, even when the weather's bad. There's a break in the weather today. The rain has stopped this morning, so we're going to pop open half a dozen of these larger boxes. Now, these came in either FedEx or UPS or USPS ground, and if the auction house is willing to ship that way, you can add to your inventory, and you can do it in a manner that still makes you a profit, and you can do it all year round. I'm Brian. We're at the lake. We're going to pop open some auction boxes. We're going to see what I had sent in. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I like sourcing from online auctions. We're going to open some larger boxes that have come in over the last few weeks, because this is a departure from having little packages sent in. All right, this is also an auction lot, and unlike the last time we opened boxes where the packages were relatively small, we're after bigger game today. Here today are larger boxes to highlight the fact that if the auction house will use carriers like FedEx or USPS ground, and you're not too far away, you can actually economically have a group of lots shipped in a fair size box. And I'll show you, I think I've got 6 of them out here that came in from different auctions. And we're going to go ahead and pop the tape seals on these, and we're going to have a look at what we sourced in this method. What do you say, monkey? Should we get out a utility knife, pop open some boxes? Now, you'll notice that in all cases, the auction houses shipped in random boxes. I see one over there that's a Lowe's box. The other 4 of them look like they were recycled used boxes. The one that the monkey's on looks like it may have been purchased new, but it could also have been recycled. Now, when you start talking about boxes this size, and you can see by my hand here, these are good size boxes. So some of these are even marked heavy. And that means you're going to pay something in shipping. But on the other hand, you're not using your fuel in your truck to drive around and collect these in person. Tomorrow, in contrast, we'll be going over to Renton, and we will be picking up in person a different group of auction lots, because the machines got to be fed. And if you live in a rural area, having items shipped in like this can be a good viable way. When you're looking at that auction online and you're checking out the individual lots, you've got to evaluate it. Will adding this lot to the group still fit in a reasonable size box that a carrier like FedEx or UPS will deliver? And will it price you out of the market? Once you've added the shipping, added the fees, added the hammer price together, is there still a profit? That's the key question as you evaluate lots. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get a knife, have the purple monkey step out of the way, and we're going to open some of these boxes. We'll have a look. All right, first box is open. This one came in from a auction house that specializes in military auctions. And you'll notice I've got, must be 4 bags of different patches. Insignia. These happen to be Navy hash marks for longevity that go on the sleeve of a set of service dress blues. Got some medals over there, and got 3 lots of military related books. I do well with military books, but books do add to the shipping cost significantly. Well, that was box 1. Now this group, tools, old tools, the auction house is about 60 miles away, but I would have to drive through the cities of Tacoma and Seattle through the I-5 traffic corridor to get to it. Accumulatively, once packed, these tools weighed about 14 pounds, and they came UPS ground. And what they are is a group of old measuring and marking tools, one manual, an old Craftsman, and I even sell those, a set of Craftsman wrenches, and a bunch of old wood and metal folding rules. Some calibrated tools like a machinist would use, and a few old Made in America wrenches. And the way I look at these, here's a dog bone wrench, good American made brand. One item like that, or perhaps this brass caliper, if it has the right brand name on it, would pay for the shipping. The rest of it will go against the cost I paid for the auction lots themselves, plus the auction fees, and at the other end there should be a nice profit. And it arrived here at my door. It wasn't enough to justify the drive around, but there was enough of interest in the way of old tools to consider having it sent. Now the little black case that was on the table along with the other tools is an early made in Japan multi-tool. One handle, lots of heads. These sometimes do well. It all depends on the markings, what I can find out about it. Now here's an interesting example of what sometimes happens with an auction lot. This was a set of Craftsman wrenches. But this wrench that was in this slot is a replacement. It's not a Craftsman. But the replacement is actually a Snap-on, which is a great brand. Depending on its value, this single small wrench could be worth more than this set of wrenches. And I'll look that up at the time of listing. And since I have other Craftsman tools, a lot of Craftsman tools, I'll look for a replacement wrench to complete the set. And I'll look in my Snap-on set to see if I have any others of this series to make a lot together. There. I think if I flip it around, we can read Snap-on. 3 lots. 2 of them were vintage tools. One was that knife set that was in the little kit. And here's one set of tools. There's the Craftsman wrenches. There's the dog bone wrench. And here's the old measuring and marking lot. But for this group, you can see he shipped me that box for $12. Now you compare that to what it would have taken to drive my truck around. It makes this a pretty good value for getting lots at this price. All right, box 3. This one came in from a general consignment auction house. Again, about 60 miles away. This one came in UPS ground. The weight on this box was 21 pounds. I'll have to take a look at the online receipt and see whether I can get a price for having 21 pounds shipped in. This lot over here, Volkswagen Johnny Lightning cars. I don't normally buy a lot of small Matchbox. When I do, I look for the older cars and for vehicles that tend to sell better. And among the cars like Hot Wheels and Matchbox and Johnny Lightning, there are some that sell well. For instance, because of the topic, this one's a Grateful Dead. This is the old style pickup trucks. You can see a red one. Here's a van. Here's some surf rods from Johnny Lightning. So collectively as a group, those should do fine. I've also got a couple of lots of more unusual books. This one, Shocked and Amazed. These are about collecting. So what I often do is I'll take a book on a topic like cigarette lighters, and I'll put it together with a group of cigarette lighters and sell it that way. Here's some uniforms, books on uniforms of World War II, a group of Johnny Lightning Volkswagens, and here is an old piloting mechanical instrument for aircraft. Up here was another lot, got my interest. It's a scrapbook, it's an old photo book of Alaska, the 49th state. Had some brochures in it, has some photographs in it, and what I'll do is I'll simply offer this. And as a period piece, they really are just a collection. This looks like someone put on a local play. Here's some beach scenes at the lake, people, and sometimes these do fine. But I didn't pay much for it, and I thought the cover art was interesting. Now on this one, this is the 10 Johnny Lightning Volkswagens, the Frank Morris pilot bearing instrument. You can see it here. Here's the Johnny Lightning cars, the Volkswagen. Here are the uniform books, or the books about uniforms. There's that Alaska scrapbook. 4 books about strange things, and 4 collector's guides, including pinball. I've sold pinball collections before. Guides and references about the art of pinball. So if we take a look at all of those, we can see that we haven't been charged yet on this one. Rose tells me she doesn't know what the shipping is on this group, but we'll find out. And for this 12 lot auction that I showed you when I unboxed it, this is the one that had the silver pieces, the bundles of patches, Civil War, challenge coins. You can see them here. These are individual. This is a group. It had a deck of sports cards, some more challenge coins. This was a 6-coin group. And it had 3 or 4 bags of jewelry. And you can see here the jewelry that came in. For all of that, he charged me $16.01 to box and ship that. The 5th box came from a car collector's estate, we'll say. In addition to the holiday ornaments, here's a pen desk set with an old military vehicle on it. Here's a 57 Chevy telephone. Here's a Corvette phone. Here's an old Auburn. Those 4 envelopes I'll open in a second. But also, you can see I got a whole group of jackets and other clothing from the collection. This one is a Seattle Tacoma Horseless Carriage Club. And some old service manuals, some old car service manuals, another category I like. Let me move this out of the way and I'll open those 4 envelopes. Contents of the 4 little envelopes, 4 little lots. This one is a couple of bolo ties. One is a sliced polished stone. The other is Masonic. That should do well. Here's a couple of belt buckles, including one for the Auburn Cord Duesenberg group. A lot of these pins are also Auburn. There's a Ford pin. And what I do is I look for individual items that can sell by themselves, and then I group them up. This one is Elks, the Elks Fraternal Organization. So those will go into my collection of smalls, and I will begin to lot them up this winter. But here are those horseless carriage and Model T jackets. You can see them here. Here's a 57 Chevy car telephone. In this case, it's a telephone in the shape of a car. There are some of the pin lots. These are the ones that were in the manila envelopes. Here's the Corvette phone, the one that looks like a Corvette. The Auburn Cord Duesenberg belt buckle. And we saw some of these. This was the most expensive box. I'm starting to lose my window of sunshine, so we'll move this along for the last box. Take a look at this 6th box now, also ground advantage. You can see this one was 18 pounds. So we'll take a look and see what I paid for that to ship an 18-pound box around from north of Seattle. Now the 6th box, and the last one for today, t-shirt, Marine Corps t-shirt. Here's some brass submarine plaque work for Submarine Flotilla 1. Little cast iron cannon, probably a desk paperweight. Here's a military film. No subject. I'll have to hold it up to the light and see if I can tell what the subject line is. Usually within the first few frames, you can tell. Now here's a Navy uniform. Now we get a lot of these, this being a Navy town. This is a set of blues. Senior Chief, this star here, and the Chief's Crow show you that it's a Senior Chief, an E8 enlistedman. It's an aviation bosun from the Insignia. And these are those longevity marks I was talking about. I showed you a set. This represents 16 years of service. You've also got the gold buttons. What we often do when we get uniforms like this is we part them out, just like an appliance, because chances are you would not find a guy who needed an E8 with 16 years of service in this size. So we sell the buttons, we sell the hash marks, what these are called. We'll sell the crow, which is what that's called, and then we'll offer the jacket. We also make sure we check the pockets. Now some of these are issue, some come from tailor shops. So when you look inside here, you can often tell the origin, but I don't see a label this time. Not to be outdone, here's a Marine Corps. Again, a senior serviceman, enlisted, got his ribbons, got his marksmanship, shoulder braid, Sam Brown belt, holds the holster up, stops it from sagging, and Marine version of the longevity stripes. So what we have the option of, again, is to do the same thing. Part it out or sell it as it's shown. Collar insignia up here, rank insignia, longevity insignia, medals and ribbons, Sam Brown belt. And if I get a chance, I'll take a look and show you what I paid for that. Here's the shipping in from the military auction. Here's the t-shirt with the logo on the back. Here's the Navy uniform for the aviation bosun senior. Here's that Marine uniform with the Sam Brown belt. I'll have to do a little research on this one to find out what era this is. I think they've stopped putting Sam Brown belts on Marines these days. Film reel, that one's a mystery. I bought that one just out of curiosity. And here are the items from the USS Stickleback. That one's a very thick plaque. That's the money. Submarine Flotilla 1. The rest of these I'll probably just send along with it because they're related. And that one cost me $30 to have that one shipped in. Again, a very big box with some heavy items in it. Film canister, brass plaques, uniforms. So there you have it. 6 boxes shipped in from 6 different auctions, several different auction houses, all over by the city. And if I had to drive to each of those locations on different days, I'd have spent much more in fuel than I would have in postage. The heaviest box, as I recall, was about 18 pounds. We'll take a look at what they charged me to do that. And there's a big variation among auction houses. I've mentioned before, one of the ones in my area here charges $25 per invoice plus the shipping cost. So that can get expensive, especially if you're not buying many lots. Because remember, the more lots you buy, the prorated cost of the shipping can be spread among them. And that's an important consideration. That's why I end up with those little lots sometimes, those little boxes, because at the end, everything climbed higher than I thought might have a profit. So I would skip lots that I had earlier tagged. And you can end up buying just a few, and not necessarily the ones you want. But that's very similar to a live in-person auction. You don't know at the start of the auction what you're going to end up with. When I buy online and I have these boxes shipped in, I think of it as like sourcing from an estate, because most of these auctions are estates. They're moving sales, they're clear outs, somebody has passed away, somebody has moved into assisted living. And as I mentioned in a video I just put up, sourcing what belongs to seniors, the elderly, can be profitable, because what they've been holding might be decades and decades old, vintage, collectible, antique. So just as I would look over the inventory at an estate sale, I look over the inventory on an auction. And I can bid on it. They're usually up for about a week, so I can take my time doing the research. I don't have to worry like you do at an in-person estate, whether the person who got the number and went in just before you took all the good stuff that was in the advertisement. Yeah, because the auction opens at the same time to everybody. And you can either bid early or you can wait and decide whether to snipe at the end. You can take a look at all the lots you've tagged. That reduces the amount of lots you've got to look at as the days go by up to the closing, especially when you're dealing with small things like jewelry and lapel pins. You can buy an awful lot of belt buckles and smalls and have them put in a very reasonable size box and sent to you. And if those are your niches, online auctions and having them mailed is a great consideration. But check the charges, the fees, and the terms before you bid. This is Brian. I'm at the lake. Looks like I just managed to get those 6 boxes open before the rain is coming back in. Tomorrow we'll be going up to Renton, and I'll probably film that pickup as well. Check out our playlist. I think I'm up to about 80 videos now, all across the spectrum of reseller topics. I'm enjoying this. I hope you are too. Please feel free to comment.